My name is Iris Newman, and I'm 18 years old. On paper, I'm the kind of teenager people write inspirational posts about. Self-made, financially independent, ran a small online business that blew up way faster than anyone expected. Inside, I still feel like the kid who checks the mirror 3 times before leaving her room and still thinks, maybe if I'm less me, they'll like me more. My family never really knew what to do with me. To my parents, I was always sensitive, dramatic, too intense. To my older sister, I was the weird little sister who spent more time behind a laptop than going out, who didn't get family jokes and never quite fit at the table. I was the one they could brag about to other people. Sure. Oh, yes, Iris does something with computers. She's very smart. But inside the house, I was more function than person. I was a walking, talking backup plan. 3 years ago, when everything started to fall apart, I was 15. That summer, my dad lost his job. My mom juggled 3 different credit cards and pretended everything was normal. The mortgage slipped. The word foreclosure started appearing in hushed late-night arguments I overheard through the thin wall between our rooms. Then one night, Mom knocked on my door with a brittle smile and a stack of papers. "Iris, honey," she said, voice syrupy. "You're so good with numbers. You can help us, right? Just look at this with your father's friend. We just need some signatures for paperwork." I was 15. I knew it wasn't just paperwork, but I also knew the look in her eyes. Desperation. Fear. And under it, entitlement. Like helping them wasn't a big ask, it was simply expected. With the help of an actual attorney, a woman named Jessica who took me more seriously than my own parents ever had, I made a plan. I used savings from my freelance work and my small business, plus money I'd earned building websites and doing social media for small local shops to cover their missed payments and secure the house. Legally, we structured it so I took on part of the risk and nearly half the ownership. 49%. My name on the papers. Their signatures scribbled next to mine. They skimmed the documents, barely reading. "Do whatever you need to," my dad muttered, eyes hollow. "You're such a blessing to this family," my mom said, kissing my cheek, already moving on to the next crisis. And then, just like that, the house was saved. The story they told everyone after was simple. We had a rough patch, but God is good. The bank worked with us. I wasn't mentioned, except as a footnote. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around this year, they'd fully convinced themselves that the house was theirs again, in every sense. Emotionally, legally, spiritually. Mine only when they needed something. The invitation came 3 days before. It was a text from my sister. "Thanksgiving at Mom and Dad's. 3 p.m. Don't bring anything weird this time. Seriously, no experimental desserts. Address is the same. No, how are you? No, we'd love to see you. Just time, place, orders." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part, the younger, pathetic part, hoped that maybe this year would be different. That maybe saving their house, bailing them out, helping with my sister's emergency dental bill, and co-signing her car when her credit tanked had earned me something. Respect, basic kindness, a real seat at the table. Instead of responding with what I wanted to say, "You don't get to order me around like that," I typed, "I'll be there." The afternoon of Thanksgiving was gray and damp, the kind of weather that made everything look tired. I pulled up to the house I had saved, our house, legally speaking, but always theirs in their minds. The gutters sagged a little heavier. The wreath on the front door was the same one Mom had been hanging up every November since I was 8. For a second, I sat in the car, hands still on the steering wheel, watching my breath fog the glass. "You could still drive away," I whispered to myself. "You don't owe them this." I looked at the pie on the passenger seat, homemade bourbon pecan, the recipe I'd perfected from YouTube videos and late-night experiments. My stomach twisted. I opened the car door anyway. Inside, the house smelled like roasting turkey and cinnamon and the faint tang of bleach, Mom's favorite pre-company scent. Laughter drifted from the living room. The TV blared some football game. It almost sounded warm. Almost. The warmth evaporated the moment I stepped inside. My nieces barreled past me in sparkly sweaters, shrieking with laughter, nearly knocking the pie from my hands. Neither said hello. My sister sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up, gave me a quick once-over, then went back to tapping. "Hey," I said softly. Hey, she answered, eyes glued to the screen, thumb flicking. My dad stood near the window, with my brother-in-law, arguing about some backyard project I wasn't aware of. He gave me a brief nod, barely a hitch in his sentence, and turned his attention back to measurements and lumber, and whatever else men in plaid shirts talk about on holidays. My mom swept through the entryway a moment later, not to greet me, but to adjust the thermostat. Close the door, Iris, you're letting the heat out, she said. No hello, no hug, just an order. I closed the door. For a second, I stood there like a delivery driver who didn't know whether to ring the bell or just leave the package. The pie dish felt heavier than it should have. So did the silence around me. Kitchen's that way, my sister muttered, without looking up, jerking her chin in the general direction as if I were lost in my own house. I swallowed whatever answer wanted to come out and headed to the kitchen. 3 store-bought desserts were already arranged on the counter, a pumpkin pie with a cracked surface, a supermarket pecan pie in a foil tin, and a cheesecake slouching in its plastic dome. I set my pie down next to them. It looked wrong there. Too careful, too earnest. 10 places were set at the table in the dining room. 10 chairs, 10 careful plates with Mom's good china. I counted them twice, my brain doing the math before my heart caught up. 10 plates. I was the 11th. In the end, I got a folding chair dragged from the garage, wedged at the corner of the table like an afterthought. My plate was a sturdy paper one from a party pack. No one commented on it. No one offered to switch. For a while, I tried to make conversation. I asked my nieces about school. They shrugged. I asked my sister about work. She said, ugh, stressful, and immediately pivoted to a story about one of her coworkers. I offered to help in the kitchen. Mom said she had a system and didn't really need my help, then handed my sister the gravy to stir. By the time we sat down, the silence around me had turned thick and shiny, like cooled caramel. Everyone talked over me, around me. I might as well have been invisible. When the turkey had been carved and plates were full, my dad cleared his throat and told a story about how hard work always pays off, referencing my sister's latest small promotion like it was a miracle from heaven. That was the moment I tried. I actually had a big thing happen too, I said, forcing my voice to be steady. My business just landed a national campaign. It's kind of huge. It's going to be 6 figures over the year. My heart pounded. I didn't say it to brag. I said it because I wanted someone to look at me the way they looked at my sister. Proud, impressed, just something. My brother-in-law let out a low whistle. Before I could relax, my sister snorted. Of course Iris finds a way to make it about money, she joked, rolling her eyes. The table chuckled. We're talking about family, and you're over here listing your invoices. Heat crawled up my neck. I wanted to sink through the floor. I started. Well, good for you, dear, my mom said briskly, already reaching for the cranberry sauce. Just don't let it go to your head. Money comes and goes. Family is what matters. Does it, I thought, because I pay for the house that holds this table. I felt something inside me go cold. A little later, when the plates were smeared with gravy and the wine had done its work, my dad stood to carve a second round of turkey. The room buzzed with small talk. I stared at my paper plate, tracing the ridges with my fingertip, feeling like I was watching my own life through a window. My mom quietly set down her wine glass. The clinking of crystal against wood cut through the chatter. Iris, she said, voice calm, almost gentle. Everyone turned. My stomach dropped. Yes, I managed. She looked right through me, like she wasn't talking to a person but to a problem. You're cut off from this family. It wasn't shouted, it was spoken like a diagnosis. The table went silent. My sister let out a tiny gasp. My cousin snorted like she'd been expecting drama. My first thought was stupid and small. In front of everyone? My second was larger, scarier. Of course she did it in front of everyone. What? I asked, my voice thin. Mom sighed, as if I were being difficult. You isolate yourself. You never contribute emotionally. You act superior because you make some online money. You don't understand what family means. Maybe if you can't be part of the family like everyone else, you should skip Thanksgiving next time. The word family hit me like a slap each time she said it. I waited for my dad to step in. He cleared his throat and said nothing. I waited for my sister to object, to say, Mom, that's a bit much. She stared at her lap, jaw tight. No one defended me. No one even tried to soften it. Mom took a breath. Again, she said, as if repeating a rule. You're cut off, Iris. The room tilted. Something hot surged up my chest, then froze halfway. I could feel everyone watching me, waiting for me to cry, to beg, to apologize for a crime I didn't even understand. I didn't cry. I slowly set my fork down, folded my napkin, and pushed back my metal chair. It screeched on the hardwood floor, a raw little sound in the silence. "Thank you for dinner," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. I won't make things awkward by staying. No one told me to sit back down. No one said, "Wait." I walked to the kitchen, picked up my coat, and left my pie on the counter. No one had cut into it. The front door clicked softly behind me. Outside, the air was colder than before. I sat in my car, fingers trembling around the steering wheel, and let the tears come in tight, angry waves. They thought they'd cut me off. As I wiped my face with the sleeve of my sweater, a strange calm settled over me. Images flickered through my mind, mortgage statements with my name, car loans I'd co-signed, that luxury Airbnb booking for my parents' second honeymoon sitting on my credit card, the automatic transfers draining my business account every month to keep their life from collapsing. They hadn't cut me off. They had just cut off the only person holding everything together. I opened my banking app, thumb hovering over the screen, heart pounding with a new kind of fear. "Okay," I whispered to myself, voice barely audible in the dark car. "You want me out of the family?" I took a breath and smiled, a small bitter curve of my lips. "Let's see how you do without me." And then, sitting in their driveway, in front of the house that was almost half mine, I started changing passwords. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the dark ceiling, the glow of my laptop casting long, trembling shadows across my room. My fingers hovered over my keyboard like they were waiting for permission. Part of me, some tiny, hopeful shard, still expected someone in my family to text, to call, to say, "We didn't mean it like that. Come back. We're sorry." But my phone stayed silent. At 2:14 a.m., I checked their group chat. They were still active, laughing, sending photos of leftovers, sharing memes about family chaos. No one mentioned me. It was like I'd never existed. Something inside me tore cleanly in half. The next morning, still running on adrenaline and heartbreak, I sat at my desk, opened my accounts, and began the process I'd always been too afraid to start. At first, my hands shook so badly I had to sit on them to stop the tremors. Then, slowly, something steadied. A strange warmth spread through my chest. Not comfort, not joy. Focus. I opened the mortgage app, the one I'd been funneling thousands into every month. A giant chunk of my income. Money my parents had never once said thank you for. I clicked stop payment. A warning popped up. "Are you sure? This will affect the account holder." My parents were the account holders. I clicked yes. Then the next, and the next. Car insurance. My sister's policy, which I'd been paying because she couldn't qualify for a reasonable rate, canceled. Registration, suspended until paid by the new primary holder. The Sedona vacation they booked on my card without asking, $16,000 for a week in wine country with no kids allowed, canceled and flagged as fraudulent. Utilities in the lake house they dumped into my name to make things simple, shut off. Automatic transfers, all stopped. It took 2 hours. 2 hours to unravel years of financial duct tape they'd wrapped around my shoulders and called family. By the time the sun rose, I had done it. I had truly cut them off. At 9:03 a.m., my dad called. Then again at 9:05. Then again at 9:06. I didn't answer. By noon, my phone buzzed relentlessly. 27 missed calls. Voicemails piled up. Mom's passive-aggressive tone sharpened into something sour. "Iris, this is childish. We need to talk like adults. You are embarrassing the family. Enough is enough." Not one, "Are you okay?" Not one, "We're sorry." I muted the thread. By Monday morning, the cracks were starting to show. My sister texted me. "Are you seriously doing this right now?" No hello, no explanation. Just entitlement, wrapped in disbelief. At 11:42, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the bank, asking for my dad. I told them, "He's no longer associated with that mortgage." The words tasted like steel. Another call, an insurance company, asking why my sister's car policy had been terminated. "She's the primary holder," I said. Flat, calm, not my problem. By that evening, another voicemail arrived, this time from my brother-in-law. "You need to pick up. This is insane. Grow up." I saved it. Jessica, my attorney, would want that. But they weren't done. Not even close. On Tuesday, unfamiliar numbers started calling my business clients. Someone claimed I was unstable, untrustworthy. They hinted at mental health issues. They said I might commit fraud. It didn't take Jessica long to trace the calls. All of them originated from my parents' Wi-Fi network. My parents tried to destroy my income. The same income that had been paying their bills for years. Jessica drafted cease and desist letters within an hour, She forwarded defamation warnings to every number we identified. For the first time in my life, I watched adults, my parents, behave like trapped animals, cornered, panicking, and I felt nothing. By Wednesday, it hit them, because that morning Mom called. Her voice wasn't sharp or angry. It was scared. "Iris, honey, let's talk. Things have gotten out of hand." I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Families aren't supposed to treat each other this way." I let it play on my speaker, sitting cross-legged on the floor, expression blank. Then she said something that made everything click into place. "We didn't think you'd actually do it." I closed my eyes. There it was, the truth bleeding through. They thought I'd begged my way back. They thought cutting me off would teach me a lesson. They thought threatening me with family would scare me. They never once considered that I had the power to walk away. That afternoon, I did something they absolutely weren't prepared for. I drove to Jessica's office with a folder thick with documents, mortgage statements, bank transfers, receipts, the co-signed car contracts, screenshots of my mom asking me to handle the lake house utilities for a few months that became 3 years. And the most important file of all, the legal document giving me 49% ownership of the family home. Signed by both my parents, filed officially, ignored by everyone but me. "Are you ready for this?" Jessica asked, flipping through the folder. I exhaled slowly. "Yes." She nodded once. "Then we'll proceed." And just like that, we filed for a partition action, a legal process that forces the sale of jointly owned property when owners can't agree. Once filed, the house had to go up for sale. It didn't matter that they lived there, that it was their forever home, that they decorated it with memories and Bible verses and live, laugh, love decals. 49% was mine, and I wanted it sold. The documents were served Thursday morning at 9:12 a.m. At 9:14, my phone rang. Mom, Dad, my sister, my brother-in-law. Call after call after call. I didn't answer any of them. By 10:30, my aunt from Florida, who hadn't spoken to me in years, called to tell me I was destroying your poor parents, breaking your mother's heart, acting out, unrecognizable. I asked one question. "Where were you when they told me I wasn't family?" Silence. Then she hung up. By noon, the rumors had started. According to their church, I was mentally unstable, brainwashed by internet therapy, holding my family hostage, and tearing everyone apart for money. They didn't know I had every receipt, every message, every contract. I let them talk, let them spin their stories. I didn't need to defend myself anymore. I was finally letting the truth stand on its own. And I hadn't even played my final card yet. The message came on a quiet night. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, half watching a video essay and half wondering if my parents had started packing boxes yet. The house wouldn't sell immediately. Legal things moved slowly, but the wheels were turning. Their panic was real. Their calls had gone from rage to pleading to brittle silence. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Leah. We weren't close. She lived in another state, kept to herself, and always treated me with a quiet, steady kindness that made family gatherings just a little more bearable. Her message was only 6 words. "You might want to call Grandma's lawyer." I stared at the screen, confused. Grandma had been gone almost a year. We hadn't been close near the end. She had absorbed the same narrative the rest of my family had crafted about me. Stubborn, ungrateful, difficult. But she never treated me like I wasn't family, just distant, reserved. Still, I had gone to her funeral, alone, standing in the back, leaving before anyone could pull me aside and ask if I was making a scene. I called the number Leah sent. The lawyer, Mr. Alden, answered on the second ring, his voice gentle. "Iris, thank you for calling. There's something you need to see. Something your grandmother left behind." My fingers tightened around my phone. "What is it?" "A letter," he said. Handwritten, 6 pages, dated 2 years before she passed. My breath hitched. "She wrote me a letter?" "Yes, and there's more. It's best if you come in." I didn't sleep that night either. The next afternoon, I walked into the lawyer's office, hands sweating, heart thudding in my ribs like a trapped bird. Mr. Alden motioned for me to sit, then set a worn envelope on the polished desk between us. My name written across it in Grandma's cursive. Iris. My throat tightened. "She meant for you to have this," he said. "It was locked in a small metal box in her attic. The executor discovered it while clearing out her things." My fingers trembled as I slit the envelope open. The first sentence shattered me. "Iris, my girl, I'm sorry I didn't say these things while I was alive." The letter was 6 pages of clarity, softness, truth. Grandma wrote about how she saw the way my mother treated me, how she tried to intervene once but was shut out of conversations, how she had planned to include me more significantly in her will, but the family pressured her to favor my cousin Jake, the golden grandson. But I made something for you they didn't know about, she wrote. A separate life insurance policy, opened when I was 12, with me as the sole beneficiary. Tears blurred the words. It wasn't an enormous amount, but it was meaningful. Enough to make a difference. Enough to symbolize something my family had never given me. Recognition, validation, love that wasn't conditional. The kind of love that said, I saw you, even when no one else did. By the time I finished reading, the tears were falling freely. Not messy, gasping sobs, just quiet grief, quiet healing. For the first time in years, someone from my bloodline had chosen me without strings attached. I left the office with the letter pressed to my chest, as if it were the last warm thing in the world. The shift came quickly. 2 days later, my sister's lawsuit, yes, the one claiming I had maliciously ruined her financial stability, was suddenly withdrawn. No explanation, no apology, just gone. Jessica raised an eyebrow when the notice hit her inbox. They found out, she said simply. About Grandma's letter? I asked. No, about the policy. A cold understanding settled over me. My family didn't know love unless it came with a price tag. And they thought I'd just become valuable again. The apology came next. A single, painfully transparent group email addressed to me, my parents, my sister, my brother-in-law, even my aunt in Florida. It read like a bad PR release. We're sorry for the way things unfolded. Words were said in anger. Family is more important than money. Let's move forward together. I actually laughed when I reached the last line. They thought a neat little paragraph would erase everything. Thanksgiving, the cutoff, the smear campaign, the defamation, the lawsuit, the years of using me, the decades of pretending I didn't matter. I deleted the email. Didn't reply. If there was one thing they couldn't stand, it was losing access to me. Not my love, me. I thought long and hard about what to do with Grandma's final gift. And in the end, honoring her meant giving someone else the help she wished she'd given me. So I donated half of the payout to a women's legal advocacy fund, under Grandma's name. Their newsletter sent out a public thank you. A small local paper picked up the story. Someone at my parents' church recognized the name. By the weekend, my phone was buzzing again. Not with apologies. With anger. How could you twist Grandma's death like that? This is sick, Iris. You're humiliating us. I didn't respond. The other half of the policy went into something I had once desperately needed. An emergency fund for teenagers and young adults trying to escape toxic family situations. A quiet safety net for people like me. People like Iris Newman. Me choosing me. The lawsuit hit on a Tuesday morning. Not mine. Theirs. My parents had officially sued me for emotional damages, claiming I had destroyed the family through reckless, selfish acts. Jessica called me with a sigh. I was expecting this, she said. They strike when they lose control. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I scanned the lawsuit PDF while eating cereal. Just another attempt to drag me back into the role I had finally abandoned. We filed for full discovery. And then their world began to crack. Every smear attempt, every call to my clients, every email to HR departments, every church rumor, every text mocking me, belittling me, accusing me, all entered into evidence. Depositions were scheduled. Under oath, people can't hide behind guilt trips. My mother stumbled through answers. My father contradicted himself. My sister's lies tangled so badly she ended up crying mid-session, not out of guilt, but out of panic. By the time they left the courthouse, their little storyline had dissolved in front of professionals who had seen every type of family meltdown imaginable. A week later, the judge recommended settlement. Our terms were harsh. Jessica read them aloud. Full withdrawal of all claims. Written apologies to everyone they had slandered. Cease and desist agreement with financial penalties. Acknowledgement, public and permanent, of my years of financial support. Immediate sale of jointly owned assets, including the house. They signed, reluctantly, bitterly. Then, of course, they told everyone they knew that we had reconciled. I didn't correct them. I didn't need to, because while they were telling stories, again, I was doing something final, something irreversible. I legally changed my last name. Not a hyphen, not a tribute. Just mine, Iris Newman. The name I chose, the future I claimed, the girl I saved. People imagine that cutting off toxic family feels like slamming a door. Cold, clean, final. But that's not the truth. There are nights when a song plays and nostalgia punches me in the throat. There are moments I almost text my mom out of habit or start to dial my sister to tell her something stupid and funny before remembering who they really are. There are days it feels like grief. Not for them. For the version of me who kept waiting for them to choose her. For the child who believed someday she'd walk into Thanksgiving and finally be treated like she belonged. But grief is allowed. Healing is allowed. Distance is allowed. Because I wasn't the villain in their story. I just stopped playing the role they wrote for me. I am not their scapegoat. Not their safety net. Not the quiet kid in the folding chair with a paper plate. I'm Iris Newman. And for the first time in my life, I'm free.